recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, hello, St. Louis, and a happy goodbye to 2022, and welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement. I'm Jeff Lapidus, president of JBL Financial Services. Our offices are located in beautiful, chilly, downtown Olivet, Missouri. I'm a 40-plus year veteran of the financial services area, a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager. And I'm joined this week and every single week by my crew, my very oldest and favorite prodigal daughter, Aaron Lapidus, who is a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager, and Robert Markham, our life insurance and fixed annuity specialist. Good morning, gang.
Good morning.
Good morning. We help our clients make smart choices about their money. The way we do that is by designing a game plan, a written step-by-step strategy, a real game plan that has several goals in mind.
First is to preserve, protect, and prudently grow the assets our clients have taken their entire lifetimes to accumulate. Second is to deliver a reliable stream of income, one that they can count on, so they can do all the things they like to do during retirement.
And third is cost-effectively addressing their healthcare needs, like helping individuals enroll in Medicare and choosing the right plan to couple with their Medicare coverage.
And then when they're done enjoying their assets during their lifetime, we show them how to pass them on to the people they love, whether it's their spouses or children, grandchildren, churches, or charities, whoever it might be, with Uncle Sam or the tax court taking a big bite out of their money. And as their wealth managers, Aaron and I watch their money every single day to make sure they're staying on track. And that's why they call us the retirement coaches. Well, again, everybody, good morning. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's the last day of 2022. Woohoo! Glad that year's gone. What do you think, babe?
I mean, it wasn't the worst year. It might not have been the best year, though.
Seems like a lot happened this year.
Yes, it was an eventful year.
And for many folks, it certainly was a great event. Hopefully they retired. Maybe they welcomed some new family members, whatever it might be, had some great vacations. But 2023, it's going to be rock and roll. I can tell already.
What makes you, what gives it away?
2022, it's got to get better than this, right?
Yeah, no, I love the thinking. Nowhere to go but up.
Exactly. So, you know, the glass is always half full. It's never half empty, as we like to say. But we do want to remind folks that before we get into our programming for today, we are live and local. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone lines are open. Give us a call, 314-938.
Probably not.
931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. And so, babe, how are other ways folks can keep in touch with us during the week?
Well, please log on to our website, jblfinancial.com. In the upper right-hand corner, you can click on Contact Us, request a coaching session, be it financial, Medicare, or both. Or you can click on the lower left-hand side of the screen that says Sign Up for our monthly newsletter. We call that the Coach's Corner. You just provide us your email address, date of birth, and phone number, and we will send it out to you every single month.
That's right, and we are sending thousands of these every month, which is very fun. They're all our listeners. And Erin and her staff do keep the last 6 to 8 months of those archived for your printing, viewing, or downloading convenience. Plus, we also have pages on Facebook as well as on Twitter.
That's right. You can follow us on Twitter, JBL Financial, or friend us on Facebook. We try to post not just articles about investments, but also retirement planning, things going on around the St. Louis metro area, things to do while you're enjoying your retirement of 2023, hopefully.
Absolutely. And again, it's easy to do. Just go to our website, jblfinancial.com. Give us your information. We're happy to send this out to you every single month by email. And if for some reason that computer's on the fritz, can always give our office a call, 314-863-0008. Give us your name, address, and phone number. We'll be very happy to send that out to you by snail mail once a month until that computer gets off, Fritz. What do you think?
I think we could do that.
I hope so. I think so too. Again, our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. So I guess, babe, before we do get into our programming for today, I do want to remind everybody that all of our clients, they're folks like you, they're our listeners. They're 55 and older. They would like to retire, or they're already retired. And as Aaron mentioned, our goal is to create a game plan for them for a fun, hopefully financially secure and worry-free retirement. So I think that really kind of dovetails us into, I think, our first topic of the day, which is 2023 the year to retire for me? And I know that many of you are asking yourself this question, and I really think that there are two parts to this, right? Number one is, am I financially prepared? And secondarily, am I emotionally prepared? And these two concepts really do work hand in hand. So let's just sort of get into this a little bit. We like to think about getting prepared for your retirement as just like getting all of your ducks in line in the right order, right?
Right, like ducks in a row.
Exactly. And so the way we think you need to start is you need to muster your resources. What are the resources you have available to you to replace that portion of your income, your paycheck, that you need to maintain the lifestyle that you have?
And I think a lot of the more traditional retirement planning articles that you read on the internet really leave off one of the key components of this, which is you're not really looking to fund to your gross income because you had never really lived off of that before. You had taxes to pay, retirement plan contributions to make. You're really living off a net amount of your paycheck. So, calculating your resources based on that number is, I think, the very first step.
It certainly makes the task a little less daunting. So how do you start? Well, I think it's pretty easy. You can do it one of two ways. You can either, if you need to, get a piece of paper and pen, or get an Excel spreadsheet and just list what are my regular ongoing expenses every month. What are some of my reoccurring expenses annually, maybe like real estate taxes, insurance, etc., that I pay annually? Break that up in 12 months. And other items that you have. Maybe you do have something like a minor project that you're looking at doing this year. Maybe you're looking at helping fund some child or grandchild's education, primary or college education. Add all those numbers in, and don't forget lifestyle expenses, which are what are the things that makes your life fun. For most folks, they call it the G's, grandma or grandpaing, gambling, gardening, golfing, getting out of town, travel. So let's make sure that we include all of these expenses to get to a number. And then obviously what we're then looking at is saying, okay, will I need to supplement those resources, which could include Social Security as well or pensions, with a full-time job, maybe part-time job, maybe a full-time job that's less stressful and pays less, whatever that would be. Where's that gap, and where do we get to that number?
And that might seem a little daunting to have to write down every single one of your expenses. So another easy way to backdoor that number we find for people is just take a look at your monthly checking account or whatever you pay, your household working capital account, what account do you pay the majority of your bills out of? If that number stays consistently the same throughout the year, then you're essentially spending everything that you're bringing home, which is okay because most people pay themselves first by contributing to their retirement plans. Or, if that number is slightly increasing over the course of the year, you're actually creating a little bit of savings for yourself every month. Or if that number happens to be decreasing, you know that you've got a little bit extra that we're going to need to make up on a regular basis. So you can backdoor that number without having to necessarily write down every single expense. However, if you do it that way, it is important to make note if you're a planner already and you set money aside for a trip for those home repairs my dad just talked about, and you spend all of it, we have to reincorporate that back into your number too.
Really getting a true idea about how much is your actual spending. It isn't income, it's about spending, which is really about lifestyle. And we also know that, let's be real here, people don't change their lifestyle in retirement.
No, we don't want them to.
No. Typically, what they're doing is they may be changing their spending habits where money goes to, but not necessarily the total amount that's being done. And frankly, I've never met anybody that spent more in retirement than they did before they retired, because you are who you are, and you tend to live to the lifestyle that you have. And that's all you want to do in most cases, is maintain that lifestyle.
You also don't tend to spend less.
We figured that out for a while ago, right? If you tell us that, we smile and say,
why don't we just create a safety net, and we'll calculate our numbers based on what you're currently spending, and if you happen to save a little bit, we can always adjust down the line. Nothing's set in stone except for if you're making pension elections, that kind of thing. But
yeah.
Dad, you had mentioned, first we get to that number, what are you spending every month? Then you need to subtract out all of your fixed income that'll be coming in, for example, Social Security, possibly a pension. And that really leads us to our very first text question. It's a quick one.
If turning 70 in June, when should I apply to get my Social Security check?
Well, congratulations. You're one of the few people that waited till the maximum age to elect your Social Security benefit. The earliest you can apply for June is 3 months prior to June. So you would probably start either the end of February, beginning of March. What'll happen is when you go on to the Social Security Administration's website, ssa.gov, and you click apply for my retirement benefits, once you've entered your information, you've created your My Social Security account, you're going to end up at a drop-down window that asks, when would you like your benefits to begin? They'll give you the option of 3 months prior to the month that you've applied, and 3 months to the month that you're in while applying, and then also 3 months after. So if you apply 3 months in advance, that'll hit June that'll get you right to June.
Fabulous. Good question, and certainly it's something that was not covered by the Secure Act, even though there are some questions about it. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that this morning. But again, getting back to your text questions at 84126 or your phone calls, we'd love to hear them, 314-931-5877. So getting back to our topic here, babe, getting financially prepared. So you've done your homework. You figured out how much you're spending every single month. Hopefully what you've also then done is you've measured the resources that you have, whether it's pension or rental income, as we talked about, or Social Security benefits, or even some form of consulting part-time, or even, frankly, you're going to continue to full-time work, maybe just go somewhere else. Then you've got some decisions to make, especially in regard to Social Security benefits. Do I need to elect them now? Do I need to wait till normal retirement age? Do I want to put it off and maybe go to age 70 like our last texter was talking about? Most of these decisions are really generated based upon, I think, two levels of needs. One is the actual, when is the right time to begin the cash flow? When do I need it? For me, and then for me to make my lifestyle work. But the other one is on survivor benefits. If you happen to be encumbered, having a spouse, if that spouse has a lower Social Security benefit than you do, then we really have some questions about, does it make sense for us to, in some cases, we have a lot of folks that have left the workforce, moms or dads that have stayed home. They have a benefit that's maybe less than or equal to about half their spouse's benefit. To maximize that benefit, the laws have changed, right?
That's right. Unfortunately, several years ago at this point, Congress got rid of some of the Social Security claiming strategies. So in the past, you are able to file and suspend, allowing your spouse to collect off of your benefit. Unfortunately, that's no longer available. So if you and your spouse are planning a Social Security strategy in which the lower income earner of the family is going to be collecting off of the higher income earner, that higher income earner has to actually be collecting their check. So that does play a role in when we determine electing Social Security benefits, because no matter if you're electing off of your own benefit or off of someone else's, be it a spouse, a spouse that has passed away, or a spouse that you may have divorced from, so an ex-spouse, the number is always based on the claimer's age. So it's always based on your age. If you are looking at an alternative benefit, you also have to incorporate any discounts based on your age. So if you're looking to claim off of your spouse's benefit, they're still alive, that's called the spousal benefit. Or if you have an ex-spouse and you're looking to claim off their benefit, it's still a spousal benefit. First, you take 50% of that individual's benefit, and if you are not your normal retirement age, you have to discount that by another 8% times how many years away you are from your normal retirement age. So for example, if your normal retirement age is 67 years old and you're looking to claim the spousal benefit at 65, it's actually not just a 50% reduction, it's a 66% reduction.
Yep. I mean, the math works. So again, these are all things that need to be considered. One thing as a reminder is that your Social Security benefits accrue every day. They're continuing to increase. So it isn't if I do on the second day of the year after my birthday, do I miss a whole year, et cetera, you're getting incremental days. So those are things to consider. And for many of our clients, they are retiring before their normal retirement age. So certainly a question then becomes, how do we fill the gap of income if we decide to delay Social Security? We like to do this on a big whiteboard, electronic one in our office. We store the data because that really becomes the basis of our client's game plan. So being able to play that out numerically, I think, has given folks a lot of clarity. Another thing to consider is, are there assets that I need to get rid of, maybe turn into cash assets before I retire? It's not unusual for our clients to be entrepreneurial. Many of them have purchased and own real estate rental income, or other maybe small business interests, or even large business interests. So the question is, do I need to disassociate my time with these? And also, does it make sense to get the money, right? Do I really want to continue to be a landlord in my retirement or not? What do you think, babe?
That is a great point. You know what? Do we want to take a quick pause because we have our first caller on the line?
Absolutely. Let's do that.
Go ahead, Betty.
Hello?
Hi, Betty.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Yes, I just have a few questions to ask you. I'm 87 years old, and most of my money is with Edward Jones. It's set up in an account, a POD account, and then I have two other accounts. I have one with a credit union and the one with a bank, but I don't have a whole lot of money in that, either one of them, but I have my son on the account with me. And I'm just wondering, is that the proper way for me to have that, to have him on, just have him on the account, or should I do something different?
Dave, I was going to say this certainly comes up to being a question of asset titling and liability.
Right.
If you're, what I would suggest here, Betty, is that the proper way to do it is to, obviously, for you to retain ownership of the account, but turn it into what we call a transfer on death account.
Or a payable on death like you have also. Those two essentially mean the same.
Right. That's really the correct way to do it, because what it does is it permits you to maintain control of the assets during your lifetime, but at the same time, then you're insulating yourself from the liability of another person. Um, God forbid, let's assume that for some reason your son had a significant automobile accident and he was sued. And we know that with most automobile claims, the maximum liability coverage is about $300,000. Well, if the claim is in excess of that, that asset that you have his name on, your asset that you have his name on, really could be brought back into the mix. We know you love your son. That's why you're doing it. And frankly, what you can do is, I think, control all the things that you want through the POD designation that you have. And if you don't have your Jones accounts that way, you don't have your bank accounts that way. What's neat is that all these changes are simple to do. They're paperwork, and they don't cost you anything.
Also, the nice thing is many banks, as well as financial institutions like the one you mentioned, now offer what's called a trusted contact. So if the reason that you have your son on your account is so, he might be able to access it in the event something happens to you, or you'd like him to have access to your account or the totals therein, you can make him a trusted contact, and that would still create the same situation you have now, except for you'll protect yourself and you also protect him from that liability if anything were to happen.
Yeah, honey, I agree. And the other thing is that you can provide and ask and request that those financial institutions provide him with copies of your monthly statements if that's something that you would like to have happen. And we do have that with some clients. Other folks say, you know what, I think we want to keep this close to the vest until we're in a situation where we want to have a discussion with our children or grandchildren about those assets. But that's a great question. And, one of the things that is extremely important, and as you can imagine, as financial planners, we're certainly doing is we're really checking over ownership of all of our clients' assets, because we know that, like in Betty's case, it sounds like she's now a widow or a divorcee, one of the two. That any asset that isn't titled as transfer on death, which is we're talking about non-retirement assets, whether it's car or whether it's your home or bank accounts, investment accounts, etc., those will become subject to probate if you don't have a POD or TOD designation or you don't have a trust. So good idea to make sure all those I's are dotted and T's are crossed, but at the same time, maintain the level of control that you want and access to for other folks.
Also,
so good question.
Absolutely. And also it's important to check your beneficiaries, because we have many clients that add family members over time, or they add new financial documents like trusts. And so it's important to make sure that the legal documents you have and the family members that you have reflect the beneficiary or TOD designations that you have. So everything lines up the way you'd like, especially in the event that something unexpected happens and you didn't realize that you hadn't made the changes. So we often review those with clients at least once every 2 years.
Yeah, and there certainly is a very good reason, Betty, for you to, if you haven't already done so, is to get with your Edward Jones rep, or frankly, if you're looking at other financial advisors, to really find out, is this something that they're doing as a process? And if not, let's get on the stick, right? Because it really is truly a part of, we feel like it's a part of our job to make sure that all these ducks are in line and they can do those things. So good question.
And we've got another before we get back to our topic.
Sure, babe.
If I take Social Security in June of this year, how much can I make prior and part-time future salary?
This is a great question. Unfortunately, it's a little bit incomplete for us because we need to know how old you are in June of this year in order to be specific. However, we can give you a relatively the income limits, right? The income limits actually have increased, luckily, which is essentially what this texter is asking. So I'm just going to pull it up to be exact. Hold on. It's coming.
And we've really got two scenarios here, which is scenario one, which is Aaron going to talk about, which is what if I'm not normal retirement age, I'm younger than that, and I want to draw Social Security benefits as compared to if I have reached my normal retirement age.
That's right. So my Googling technique is not nearly as good as it was.
That's okay.
Once.
At least in
before.
2020, I believe it was 19,800 was the amount that you could earn before a Social Security take-back situation occurred because you're under your normal retirement age. So one of the things that we would certainly recommend to our texter, and I know Erin's going to get some exact data here when she's able to, is that if you're going to be retiring in June or just thinking about collecting your Social Security benefit, if you're under your normal retirement age, you're not within the last year. What happens is that if you've earned more than 19,800, what will happen is that you will begin to give back $1 of Social Security benefits for every $2 that you earn over that 19,800, or what the new limit is for 2023, benefit. So in some cases, retiring in June may really preclude you from wanting to take your Social Security benefits.
Happy holidays, courtesy of Renewal by Anderson.
And it's possible that you may want to maybe consider putting it off until after the first of the year.
Thank you for that extended opportunity for me to find the actual numbers, Dad. In 2023, if you are under your normal retirement age, then the maximum that you can earn before you incur that take back is $21,240, which is up from, like my dad mentioned, $19,560. Now, the year that you reach your normal retirement age, so if you happen to be reaching your normal retirement age next year, then you would be able to earn $56,520 So $56,520 without incurring the take back. In addition to that, in the year that you reach your normal retirement age, that number drops from every $2 over you pay one back to every $3 over you pay one back.
Yeah, so we really need to find out, again, for everyone that's considering retirement, with normal retirement age, we know that everybody's at least, in 2023, it's got to be at least 66 and 10 or 67.
Right. And you know what, Dad? I think before we get back to our topic, we should take our first break of the hour.
Sounds good to me. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach.
I'm Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach.
And I'm Robert Markham, your fixed annuity and life insurance specialist. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Happy holidays, courtesy of Renewal by Anderson. And if you're looking for windows and doors, get ready for Renewal by Anderson's Window and Door Triple Savings Event. 1. Save 20% plus an extra $50 on every window. 2. Save 20% plus an extra $100 on every entry door. And 3, save 20% plus an extra $100 on every patio door. That's triple the savings, courtesy of Renewal by Anderson, the home of Fibrix windows that are 2 times stronger than vinyl. They also come in 9 exterior colors, and they're backed by the nation's best warranty. You want something else? How about this? 0 interest for 4 years. That's huge. Give yourself the gift that saves you money with the Window and Door Triple Savings Event, courtesy of Renewal by Anderson. 1-877-WINDOWS. That's 1-877-WINDOWS to schedule your free, no-obligation installation proposal, or RBASTL.com. That's 1-877-WINDOWS or RBASTL.com.
Keep warm this winter with help from Viviano Heating and Air. With experienced technicians and quality-trained products, Viviano offers heating and cooling solutions that last. They also install and service all makes and models of equipment, including energy-efficient options to help lower your electric bill. If you're looking for a trustworthy HVAC company, turn to a family-owned and operated Viviano. Find them online at VivianoAir.com. That's VivianoAir.com. Trane, the most reliable name in heating and cooling around. It's hard to stop a train.
The daily ritual of my morning coffee. The smell when I open the bag, the sound of the grinding beans, the feel of the warm, full mug in my hands, and the first taste of my favorite coffee from Dubuque Coffee. It's a simple but sacred ceremony. So make it the best with Dubuque Coffee, roasted to perfection right here in St. Louis. Dubuque Coffee, Available at Dearborg's Markets.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, it's 9:36 here on the Big 550 KTRS. Talk Radio St. Louis. New Year's Eve. Woohoo! Have some fun, be safe, and hopefully get warmed up a little bit. I think you guys are supposed to hit 50 degrees today. Sounds like fun.
We were a balmy 60 yesterday, right?
Yeah, it was a real weather whiplash from, minus something or other to, almost 60.
Like minus 30-degree wind chill?
It's almost like an 80, 85-degree swing.
Well, I hear you got one in a couple of days, but, the tides, the weather is turning.
Is it?
To a beautiful retirement in 2023 for folks that are doing that. We've been talking a little bit about the financial aspects. Am I ready? Basically, to summarize at this point, we've talked about, have you mustered your resources? Will you need to supplement your income? How are you going to do that? Will it be through distributions from retirement accounts? Will it be through work, et cetera? Making some decisions about Social Security benefits. Do I need to take money now to bridge that gap to normal retirement or not? Are there assets that I need to get rid of? Next one is, are there obligations that I would feel more comfortable in getting rid of before I retire? For many folks, it's paying off their mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's credit card debt. Maybe it's student loan debt, whatever it might be. But is it important to do this, A, because it makes you feel good, and B, so that it makes your math work?
And that's definitely something that we consider when we sit down with individuals to design their retirement game plans.
It's a war game. That's really what it is. So let's have a little fun with it. And then finally, do I have or do I need a professional to help guide me through this process? And that's something that you have to ask yourself. And all I can suggest here is that if we look at role models, and for many folks, it used to be politicians, not anymore, okay? But it may be athletes. If the greatest athletes in the world have a coach or coaches, shouldn't you have one too? Only makes sense. Getting a second opinion, someone that has expertise in this area that can help you fill in the gaps in your knowledge that you don't have. Because in many cases, it's not what you know, it's what you don't know that maybe stops you from making the best decisions that you can. And that's really what we're talking about here, right?
Right, and wouldn't it be great if you had someone that you could, bounce ideas off of or get an outside opinion? Because many times, and we talked about this frequently on the show, is that people have emotional ties to their money. It could be emotional ties to inherited money. Mom and dad saved this for me. I have to do something specific with it. Or this debt represents my child's wedding, college education that I helped pay for my kids or my grandkids, the house I helped my children buy, things like that. Well, to us, although, of course, all of those things are important, but they are either positives or negatives on a page, and we can, help divorce the emotion from it and figure out what's the best way to get you from where you are to where you want to go.
Yes. And then finally, just to add one, there are situations where maybe you need to provide financial assistance to someone, either short-term or long-term. And I think it's important to, at least we found with our clients, to have a discussion about this so that, are these gifts or are these loans?
Right, so you can help set the expectation for yourself, which is important, but then also for the friends or family member that you're assisting.
Yeah, so let's just assume, babe, for fun here, that you've done your homework, you know where your resources are, you're feeling comfortable that, hey, I'm in a position maybe that I can retire. You've worked with maybe your advisor if you have one. Maybe you sought out professional help to get a second opinion, and that financially I'm there. The real question then becomes, am I emotionally ready?
This
is
is a
a
great
big one.
question.
This is a really big one, and just because you have the money or the resources to do it, it may not be the right time.
And it's really funny that you brought up this specific topic, because just yesterday I met with some of our current clients. One spouse has been retired for quite some time, and the husband, amazingly enough, it's the husband, is still at work. And the last time we met, about 3 months ago, Dad, you had made the note that he was going to keep working at least 18 months. And so, of course, I asked, is that still in the game plan here? Are we at the, 12, 15-month mark and you're looking at retirement? And he said, God, no, what would I do?
Great attitude.
Right? So he's
that's good, because I thought I was going to be getting my pink slip here.
Not yet. It's New Year's Eve. We certainly wouldn't do that on the holiday.
Well, thank you. I really do appreciate that. And, we like to refer to it as having tread left on the tires. What is it that's making you get up in the morning and go to work? Is it the money? Is it the relationships? Is it actually the work itself? So rewarding that you don't want to give it up.
And it's funny because he asked me, why would you ask me that? Like, as if I were concerned about the financial side. And, my response was, we're ready for you to retire whenever you're ready to retire. We just, we like to keep track of these things. And again, he reiterated, my sweet wife isn't going to let me sit at home, and I don't know what I'll do. So his homework has been, and I think will continue to be, almost planning for his lifestyle in retirement. What am I going to do? Who am I going to be doing it with? Where might we be doing it? How am I going to stay out of my wife's hair, since she's been retired for quite some time, has her own routines?
It's a lot of hours in a day to replace.
Right.
8 hours of work, now you're home 40 hours a week. What are you filling that 40 hours with?
Right. It could be a job, not an actual paying job, but just work to figure it out.
Well, it could be, and I think, you have to ask yourself, as Robbie really put it very well, which is, what will I be doing to replace my time? Will I be reconnecting with folks that have already left work? It's obviously hard to engage folks that are currently working while you're not. What is so compelling that you're willing to give up your pay, your money, the relationships, and really even the culture of work? Is there something calling you that is so much more important for you to be engaged in that you want to leave work? I mean, those are questions that I think you really have to ask yourself. And for some folks, it really comes down to, if I have a choice to continue to work, if a part-time option is available, should I be taking advantage of that? And for how long? You hear every day about how the labor force is tight and we can't find people to do jobs. Well, certainly this could put you in a position where maybe you can renegotiate your deal. Less hours, maybe less benefits, especially on medical side. If you're Medicare eligible, maybe continuing that, having a continued seasoned employee can be incredibly beneficial, because the cost to hire and train is expensive. And also, it's a crapshoot. So maybe you can put yourself in hopefully a really neat position to go to your boss and say, I'd like to continue in a limited way, and I have been. Make me an offer that I won't refuse.
And I think it's important that these two pieces of preparing for retirement don't necessarily come at the same time. it's really nice to, when you're approaching retirement, you feel like you're getting close, to have that financial check-in to see, am I in the right place financially, and freeing yourself of that burden, knowing that you have the income or the capital to make your life work, really might change your perspective on if you need to continue to go to work or if you want to continue to go to work. Like I say to many people when we're in coaching sessions and we uncover this or we confirm this for many people that come to see us, because most people know that they're either close or they have a few things to work out before they're ready to retire, but they're pretty much there on the financial side of things. It really puts you in the driver's seat. You get to decide, if the new boss comes to work and you're not in love, we had many nurses retire over the past several years because of, new systems being developed and implemented. And, a lot of people don't want to learn the new system. They'd rather say that I've spent my time, I'm ready to go. That gives you the opportunity to make those decisions versus feeling like you have to keep going to work in order to get to retirement.
Yeah, and not to really focus here on folks in the healthcare profession, but we know that the system is stressed. We hear it every day that people are leaving, and they're not being replaced. So the workload just seems to be getting bigger and bigger and bigger, larger for those that are staying. And, maybe it isn't unusual for us to have this conversation about, can I get out? Can I get away from this? And, sometimes you're right. The emotional side maybe is ahead of the financial side, but in many coaching sessions, especially folks that we find in their late 50s, early 60s, they've been such good savers, and they've worked for companies that have made matching contributions. Sometimes they have pensions, but in many cases, we're finding that these folks are really in the driver's seat. They're in a position where they can retire. It's just that they're not ready emotionally, even though they're ready financially. So you got to get these two things linked up together, unless, of course, you're involuntarily terminated, in which case that's cool too. We'll figure it out from there, because that's what we do.
That's right.
So, and again, one last comment that I would say, and hopefully, folks, that if you've listened to us for some time, you appreciate this. Planning for retirement is fun. It's fun for us. It becomes fun for you. It's not frightful. It's not about making mistakes. It's about making good decisions. And we think that having a coach, having a second opinion, having a guide, someone to walk you through all the rules, that's a good way of putting it, the rules, because there's rules about everything.
Always is.
Whether about Social Security, whether it's about taking distributions from retirement accounts, whether it's do I put money into a Roth, do I do this or that? We're going to continue to talk about some of those things today. But I was thinking, honey, if it's okay with you, might be a little short here, but why don't we take our second break of the hour, and hopefully we'll come back to answer your calls at 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line.
It's lurking in your basement.
Over there in the corner.
Or it could be mold and mildew. Or even
that musty smell.
All signs of water entering your basement and causing damage to your most expensive investment, your home. When you suspect water damage, use the hometown waterproofing experts at Permajack of St. Louis. Permajack provides permanent solutions to all your nagging water problems. Whether it's a simple crack repair, perimeter drainage system, waterproof wall panels, exterior waterproofing, or even installing a sump pump, Permajack of St. Louis does it, and they do it right. After all, Permajack is the company St. Louis has trusted for almost 50 years. If you've noticed water in your basement, contact us for a free inspection, system design, and estimate at permajackofstlewis.com. That's permajackofstlewis.com. Permajack, foundation repair and waterproofing. Done right.
Everyone is so angry with everybody else. You know why? Well, my humble opinion, I think we don't have a clean porta potty to use when we're out and about. If we all just used R&R Sanitation Porta Potties, the world would be so much nicer to each other. You see, R&R Sanitation Porta Potties, they're in the sanitation business, right? But more importantly, they're in the customer service business. They pick up and drop off in a moment's notice. So whether it's freezing cold or it's 120 degrees in the shade, R&R Sanitation Porta Potties are clean. When you open them up, you know they're going to be clean because they're bigger. Not only are they bigger or roomier, but they're also bigger with the reservoir underneath, which makes them cleaner longer. If you need a porta potty for work done around the house, construction sites, parades, you name it, R&R Sanitation, 314-776-4000 or rnrportabletoilets.com. You have a couple of options, but there's only one St. Louis company that does it the best, R&R Sanitation or rnrportabletoilets.com, where they really do want your stinking business, R&R Sanitation.
This is Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, welcome back to Straight Talk on Retirement. Hour number one is slowly coming to a close. We do have some time. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone lines are open, 314-938-931. I want to change that number for some reason today. 931-5877 or 84126 from the text line.
And we have a couple. The first one is a great one. We got it right before the break. Good morning. My job now is going to the pool and taking care of myself after years of taking care of others. So it sounds like someone has found an excellent job in retirement. I see a 618 area code, so they couldn't possibly be at the pool in Illinois today. They must also either have a great indoor spot or another vacation location.
Nice to show up
Beautiful.
at the pool for work.
Right?
How do you beat that?
Cannot.
And our second texter would like to know, what are your predictions for the markets in 2023?
I'm going to let you start that one off, Dad.
Well, I think that's great. And I would say that what I'd like to reference here is a memo that our clients should be receiving, I want to say, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week.
As soon as compliance says it's available for mass market, we'll be able to send it out.
So since this is not since we haven't sent out the printed version, what I'd like to do is really key and highlight three things that we mentioned. And if you don't mind, honey, I'm going to start them off.
Go for it.
Over the last 8 months, we have made strategic changes in our clients' accounts. Obviously, the purpose is always the same, is to preserve capital as well as to generate returns in areas of the market we believe have strength. For those of you taking monthly distributions, we have created enough cash to continue doing so, making those distributions to you, without having to make any additional sales in your accounts. I think that's important, having the liquidity there so people can meet those needs, and then also making us comfortable to delay our rebalance until sometime next year. Because usually what we do is rebalance our accounts at the end of June. I like to call it Jeff and Jesus. The end of June, my birthday. And the end of December, Jesus' birthday.
I saw a client just yesterday when I was letting them know we weren't going to do the rebalance, and the wife said, "You're skipping Jesus for Jeff."
Well, wouldn't be the first time. But we are putting that off. But honey, what are we thinking about the markets for next year?
I think the first half of the year might feel a lot like this past year has in the markets. We still have some pretty significant headwinds to overcome. We still have quite a few things to flesh out in terms of where we are in the markets. Last quarter we heard from many companies that their earnings didn't look as bright as they had hoped, and we're going to get those numbers at the beginning of the year. I think that's part of the reason we've made the decision to just kind of hold steady to see the direction that the market takes. And then we'll be able to move forward with more clarity, and hopefully we'll be able to build on good decisions moving forward and slowly become more invested the way that we might traditionally be.
Yeah, and I think that, again, our opinion is that we don't think that the bear market is over. One of the key parts, Aaron, as you pointed out very well, is that it's about expectations of company earnings. If we're starting to see companies lowering their expectations, that's usually a good sign, because if they do begin to beat those lower expectations, that should buoy their stocks. In the meantime, when they do lower expectations, guess what happens? Values decline. So we don't think that we're at the end of this. At the same time, we know that historically there has always been a light at the end of the tunnel.
And it's not always a train.
No, it isn't. And, it's a catalyst.
I got him so
what
good.
It is. It's just a catalyst. And we're waiting for that catalyst to happen to make a change in sentiments.
That's right.
So, we're confident in the decisions that we've made this year. We've reduced equity exposures. We've changed our orientation from growth to value, which wasn't easy for us because we frankly have been growth investors, and
many of you probably have.
And we've done very well in
years.
the past in doing that. We've added concentrations in several areas that we think make sense moving forward, even if we do go into some level of a recession, unless, of course, you're the Biden administration. There is no true definition of recession anymore.
Acknowledged or unacknowledged, the realities of the economy and what the market's doing kind of bear witness to what's happening. You can't argue the weather.
I think also one thing that we do ask all of our clients to do, and I would certainly recommend that you do this for yourself if you don't have an advisor, is that you need to think about planning for any large expenditures that you may have that are extraordinary, maybe non-recurring, that are going to happen this year. Making sure that the cash is available so that you aren't forced to maybe make sales, trip capital gains, or ordinary income. It may be a time that isn't one of your choosing, but it's one that you're forced to.
Right. You never want to have long-term or short-term obligations meeting long-term risk. So it is important, even if you're fully invested at the moment, or you haven't begun to plan for expenditures next year, that you take some time to look over your budget, look over your cash availability, and start having those conversations with your advisor if you have one, or your accountant if you have one of those, so you're prepared for whatever 2023 brings. Because although we can have predictions and we can prognosticate as much as we're willing to, none of us really know the exact layout of what's going to happen and when next year, which timing is always a really important factor when you're making these decisions.
Well, and if you would like to engage Aaron and I to have those conversations, it's really easy to do.
That's right. Just give us a call, 314-863-0008, or you could log on to our website, jblfinancial.com, or you can send us an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com or aaron@jblfinancial.com. We will be right back for our second hour after these messages.
This is KTRS St. Louis, the Big 550, and KTRS.com.
From ABC News, I'm Brian Clark. Pope Francis is expected to speak later today at a Vatican service. Those will be his first public comments since the death of his predecessor this morning, the Pope Emeritus Benedict.
The funerals will be on Thursday this coming week, Thursday the 5th of January, at 9:30 on St. Peter's Square, and they will be presided over by Pope Francis.
That's Vatican spokesman Matteo Bruni. ABC's Terry Moran has more on the legacy of Benedict, who died at 95, and the recent leadership of the Catholic Church.
A cardinal in Rome once said to me that John Paul II, Benedict's predecessor, he was the Pope of the soul, the cardinal said, this enormous, mystical, spiritual force in the world. Pope Francis, he's the Pope of the heart. He leads with his heart and his emotions. He said Pope Benedict was the Pope of the mind, a profound thinker.
Benedict died nearly a decade after he became the first pope to resign in 600 years. Groundbreaking broadcast journalist Barbara Walters died at 93. She spent nearly 40 years at ABC News. She created The View and also anchored 2020. Longtime coworker Deborah Roberts says
she prepared. She was relentless to watch her in her office, driving her producers crazy with every detail. I soaked all of that up, and I drive my producers crazy today, I think, too, because of what I've learned from Barbara Walters.
Walters was also the first woman to anchor a national evening news broadcast. She began her career at NBC News. As World Cities ring in 2023... Sydney, Australia welcoming the new year. Times Square in New York City ready for its first celebration with no attendance restrictions since the pandemic began. And college football today holds its two playoff semifinals. Michigan and TCU play in the Fiesta Bowl at 4 Eastern. Then it's Georgia and Ohio State at 8 Eastern. You're listening to ABC News.
Attention all business owners who rent or lease space, including storage space. Stop wasting your money paying someone else for your space. You can now save a ton of money and own your own building with the incredible end-of-the-year sale prices from General Steel. That's right, start saving money every month on renting space from others. Just call 888-74-STEEL to see how General Steel can help you save money. Our 50-year structural warranty buildings are custom designed for your needs and save you a ton of money. Call 888-74-STEEL.
Take it from a successful entrepreneur. If you need to expand or start a new business, you need General Steel.
Great team and the competitive pricing is the reason I went with General Steel.
Call 888-74-STEEL now, and you can get any of our popular quick construction structures, including a 40 by 60 foot building or a 50 by 100 clear span building at end of the year savings. Call 888-74-STEEL. That's 888-747-8335. 888-74-STEEL.
Authorities have not announced a motive in the killings of 4 University of Idaho students last month in their off-campus rental home. On Friday, 28-year-old Brian Koberger, a graduate student at nearby Washington State University, was taken into custody, arrested on the other side of the country. ABC's Kana Whitworth has more from Moscow, Idaho.
Law enforcement sources telling ABC News they used DNA technology and other tools to identify the suspect.
We have seized a 2015 white Hyundai Elantra.
Tracking him 2,500 miles to rural Pennsylvania through his vehicle.
And a judge in Pennsylvania ordered Koberger extradited to Idaho. Tens of thousands of nurses in New York City say they're prepared to go on strike.
The New York Nurses Association says 16,000 nurses at 8 hospitals in New York City are prepared to strike in what would be one of the largest private sector registered nurses strikes in U.S. history. Pediatric ER nurse Aretha Morgan at New York Presbyterian, in a video posted to Instagram, says they're working in unsafe conditions and deeply understaffed.
We both have 12 nurses in ER. We're working with 6.
She also says they're calling for wage increases.
I'm willing to go out on a strike, and I'm taking my nurses with me.
Mark Remillard, ABC News, New York.
If the nurses vote to approve a strike, they're required by law to give 10 days notice before walking out. Hospitals would likely turn to traveling nurses to continue operation. This is ABC News.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean. I hate the struggle of tough, greasy messes on my stovetop. So I just freak, wipe, and I'm done.
When I'm frustrated with stubborn bathtub soap scum, I just freak, wipe, and I'm done.
Mr. Clean Clean Freak delivers an innovative cleaning experience with a powerful deep cleaning mist that starts working on contact to break down tough messes in seconds.
Just freak,
wipe,
done.
Brian Clark, ABC News.
About smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talking Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
That's right. We're feeling stronger every single day.
Even the last day of the year.
That's right. For the last 12 hours or so, 14 hours of 2022. It's been a fun and memorable year. See ya! I say. It'll be fun to get rid of 2022. Certainly it's been an interesting year on many fronts. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach.
I'm Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach.
And I'm Robert Markham, your life insurance and fixed annuity specialist.
We've got...
And we are willing, we are waiting, and we're wanting to answer your questions. We're live and local, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the hopefully filling up hot text line.
And it's super hot, and I have one right on deck, and it says, I have a beneficiary deed on the house, a TOD on my car, and beneficiaries named on any savings that I have. That said, do I need to put these things into a will or a trust to avoid probate? Thank you.
The great news is you have done all of the work that you need to in order to avoid probate. All of the assets you mentioned, the beneficiary deed on your home, the transfer on death on your car, and the beneficiaries on any financial accounts that you might have, protect your assets from probate because they designate exactly where those assets are to go in the event of your death. However, that does not necessarily mean you don't need some of these additional documents that you mentioned. Specifically, the will. It comprises two very important components. The first being your medical directive, and the second being a power of attorney, or a durable power of attorney, rather. And what these two do, first is the medical directive. It outlines your wishes in the event that you're incapacitated. So how you would like your final days to go, who you would like to make those decisions for you. If you don't make those if you don't designate someone to assist with those decisions, the hospital makes those decisions. And then secondly, a durable power of attorney will give someone of your designation the ability to manage your finances in the event that you are unable to, but, obviously haven't passed away. So that would be, keeping up with the mortgage, making sure the lights in the house stay on, things of that nature, being able to access your accounts if you need additional care that costs money above and beyond where you currently are. So those two things are very important. The will is definitely something very important to consider, even though you have taken care of the issue of probate.
Very well spoken, babe. The only other thing I would add is it may be possible that you could have some highly priced and collectible items. You'll certainly want to make sure that your will designates who and where they're going to. And again,
that's a great point, Dad. Because, and also people don't think about collectibles, but, if you have, you have jewelry, you have family heirlooms, you have specific items that you want to be passed to specific people. It might not just be the Jay Leno car collection that you're looking to pass on. It could be, a family piano, things like that. You want to make sure that you've made some designations because, as my dad always likes to say, everybody's nice when we're all alive. But after that, when that ends, you don't want any fighting. And also you want to make sure your wishes are carried out.
Or as I like to call it, looting.
Family looting.
My goodness.
Right. Well, and we know that this happens. And it can be unhappy situations. And unless you're going to be writing people's names on things, I think it's important to designate who these are going to and really to communicate those as well.
That would be the old school way. I'm not sure how legally enforceable writing your name on the bottom of items is. I've seen my dad's name on the bottom of precious heirlooms he's received from his grandparents. So, but I don't know if those rules still apply in the future. So you might want to, construct a legal document to make sure.
No, a nice way to avoid any disagreement. Well, did you check the bottom? Is your name on it? Well, then it's not yours. That's great.
Family looting. We've seen that.
Did you
before.
check the bottom?
Exactly. What was Mom thinking? Oh, yeah. What was Dad thinking? Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's great. Again, our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. We're having fun. We'd love for you to have some fun with us. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. Dave, I'm going to let you pick the next topic. What do you think?
Well,
While we're waiting for your calls and texts.
You know what? Last week, we briefly touched on the new changes that the Congressional Spending Omnibus Bill created or have given us the opportunity to take advantage of. So I thought Rob took some time to prepare.
To do a little research. On some event exceptions that will waive the 10% early withdrawal penalties on your IRAs and 401ks.
And we think this is one of the bigger changes that the Omnibus Bill has passed, obviously changing the required minimum distribution age from 72 to 73 is important. We made a lot of mention of that last week. We briefly touched on these event-driven changes last week, but Rob, take it away with some of the more specifics on these exceptions for you in 2023.
Absolutely. The first event exception would be terminal illness. A terminally ill person wouldn't be penalized for withdrawing retirement funds before 59 and a half. The law defines, quote unquote, terminally ill as an illness or physical condition that can be reasonably be expected to result in death within 84 months of a physician's assessment.
So it sounds like you're going to need a doctor's note, unfortunately, for this one.
Yes.
That or one from your priest because you got married.
What? What?
Moving on. The second one.
Mom is going to be so mad at you.
You know, your mom's asleep in the other room.
That's why you could say things like that. I'm probably going to get a text in 5 seconds that says, "I'm not sleeping. I heard that."
No, I'm staring at her. She's passed out. And I was going to say, what you ought to do say is, Mom, did you listen to the show? Dad was talking about you.
Oh, nice.
Now, unfortunately, I've passed the 84-month threshold in terms of marriage. So
now you're stuck for life, as long as that may be.
At least your sister's a doctor. Maybe I can get an exception. You never know.
Let us carry on.
Great.
Exception number 2.
So terminal illness, 84 months. That's a good one, Rob. What's another one?
Second event exception would be domestic abuse. Victims of domestic abuse from a spouse or a domestic partner may withdraw up to $10,000 in retirement funds within a year of the incident. This rule doesn't take effect until 2024. So a little important note there.
And I also think that's important that you point out there are many changes inside of this bill. Some of them take effect in 2023. Many of them take effect in 2024. And then there are even others that are until 2035, I think you mentioned this morning?
Yes, the proposed moving of the retirement age to 75 is tentatively to take effect in 2023. But as you said,
maybe 2035.
2033, I'm sorry.
33. Okay, so that's unclear at the moment, but continue on.
Plenty of time before we get to that. The third exception, event-driven, will be financial emergency. Starting in 2024, taxpayers won't get penalized for withdrawing retirement funds for certain emergency expenses. These are, quote, unforeseeable or immediate, close quote, costs related to personal or family emergencies. Savers can make one emergency withdrawal for up to $1,000 a year. However, they can't take any additional withdrawals within 3 years unless they repay the initial distribution or make regular deposits that equal the withdrawn amount.
So these rules are a little complicated, which means you definitely want to consult with your financial advisor, your tax preparer, or accountant before you make some of these decisions, or before you assume anything because you want to make sure you stay on the right track.
Yeah, Rob, I thought this one's kind of interesting, and the reason is that I think this really applies to folks that have individual retirement accounts or SEPs, simple IRAs, because with a 401k plan, most plans do permit for loan provisions, and again, there isn't any limit on loans in 401k plans other than the limit of 50% of your account to a maximum of $50,000. So making an emergency distribution that's a taxable one and then kind of tying your hands up may not always be the best alternative. And again, I think it's real important to, as Aaron said, talk to your plan sponsor, talk to your financial advisor, make your CPA, if you have one, or TurboTax, aware of what's happening, so that you can really make a good decision. Because once you do that, as you said, you've got 3 years, you're still paying taxes on the income you're receiving from the plan. That doesn't stop. But again, you're not subject to that 10% penalty if you're under 59 and a half.
So that's a good point, Dad, which is some of these new rules and exceptions are nice, but they're not necessarily the best option even before they came into existence. What's the last one?
The last event exception would be a natural disaster. Savers can withdraw up to $22,000 without penalty in the case of a federally declared disaster. The federal government sometimes issues one-off waivers associated with certain disasters, but the new law entrenches a permanent rule. In addition, the funds can count as gross income over 3 years instead of 1. Distributions can also be repaid to the retirement account over 3 years.
So this is a good one. It actually is the largest, I think, exception because it allows for $22,000. Federally declared disasters, although we don't hear, obviously we hear about them in terms of weather. Frequently, a lot of the insurance companies will use federal disasters to give you special election opportunities. You definitely want to make sure that you are inside of an area that's been determined a federal disaster in order to have access to the benefits of this exception, which are usually made clear, especially if you're chatting with your financial professional or the plan sponsor. They'll be able to let you know if you live in the area in which a federal disaster has been declared.
Those are 3 very good ones. I was going to say that you've already mentioned, Rob, the most immediate one, 2 of them, is the change in the age for required minimum distribution, so that if you aren't receiving distributions now, and you don't turn 73 until sometime in 2023, you don't have to take a distribution. But if you thought it was going to be 72, you just got another year if that's something that's been required. I think that's important. And again, I really have a question whether or not they're going to wait 10 years after that to go to 75. You never know. I mean, it's how much longer do they want to put off the money? But the other big one, I think, really is catch-up contributions.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's a way for the government to encourage you to save money. Participants age 50 and older can contribute now in a 401k plan up to an additional $7,500 per year, which is kind of neat. And this will increase to $10,000 per year in 2 years in 2025 for those that are age 60 to 63. And what's neat is now they're also inflation indexing these, which is also a very cool thing to do.
We have,
I think, obviously simple plans also got a raise, etc. So taking advantage of these catch-up contribution raise increases is a great way, because at the end of the day, if you can put money into a plan, not pay taxable income on it at that time, have hopefully it grow income tax deferred, and then being able to make those distributions when you want them, i.e. up until 73, since they're putting this off longer, it's just great. It's the smartest thing to do, because usually you're typically in the lowest cost environment, to do investing. So investing your plan, keep on doing it.
That's right. You know what? We have Jay that's been holding patiently for us.
Good morning, Jay.
Hey, good morning, folks. Thanks for taking the call. And I've been kind of shopping recently the annuity market and thought that maybe I might take some RMDs that I recently got for the first time and put them into an annuity that might work. And given the market's been so down and all that type of thing. Anyway, what's your thoughts of taking a look at putting RMDs into an annuity?
Well, Aaron, before we give the answer, honey, why don't you give us the annuity disclaimer?
Sure. Here we go. If we're specifically discussing fixed annuities, which obviously, Jay, we're not recommending or, not recommending, dissuading rather. Fixed annuities are savings vehicles issued by life insurance companies. They're backed by the general assets of the insurer, therefore not FDIC insured. So you have to have the faith in the insurance company. And also, you have to be careful of surrender periods. If you surrender the contract, you will receive back what you put in less what you took out, and also less a surrender charge. In addition, withdrawals, most fixed annuities will permit a 10% withdrawal free of the surrender fee. At the end of every contract year, you can pull less without a penalty. If you pull more, there will be a surrender fee, and also you have to be careful of tax consequences as well.
Okay, so Jay, thank you for holding through that as well as the rest of our listeners. If you're looking to have this RMD withdrawal after taxes grow on an income tax deferred basis, where you have a reasonable expectation of principal protection because you're using a solid life insurance company, which are the people that sell fixed annuities. They're the only ones that are permitted to. This is something that could be a very good option for you. Question becomes more, I think, than anything else is liquidity. It's great that the interest grows income tax deferred, and frankly, you don't have to withdraw money from it until you're ready or until you hit age 95. But how long are you willing to lock that money in for a fixed rate that you're receiving, and also for the surrender period? I think it's important, again, to say, really ask your question, do I have an expectation here that I may need some of these funds over a 3 or 5 year period?
Right.
Most annuities today, fixed annuities, they're 3 5 year periods of time, interest guarantees. Do I need more than 10% a year? If I do, that more than the withdrawal privilege. If I do, then a fixed annuity would be an inappropriate place to put it, or frankly, any annuity. Whether it was a fixed annuity, a equity indexed annuity, or index-linked annuities, as they call them today, or a variable annuity. The deferred growth is great in a non-qualified situation, but if you're going to need that dough, an annuity is not the place to go.
Great question. We also have a text question on the line here.
And Tom wants to know if you finally got your package okay.
We received a delightful gift from one of our lovely texters. Unfortunately, we closed the office at about 1 o'clock yesterday, and I don't believe that we received it quite yet. But
okay. Do you know what you were receiving?
We don't, but there's additional part to this question.
Oh, great.
By the way, I am not at the pool. I'm listening to you.
What an enjoyable way to spend retirement.
Can't think of anything I'd rather be doing. Rob, is there a time of year that dividends are paid on insurance policies?
Your first very directed question to you, man.
Gotta love it. Yes, there is. And usually it's annually based on the contract year. So if you open the contract, if you purchase the contract in, say, February, a year from February, you should be getting your dividends if they're available.
Or if you're having them paid to you. If they're being reinvested, they'll be reinvested.
You'll see that reflected on your statement.
Exactly.
Good question and very good answer as well.
Maybe we take our first break of the second hour?
I like that idea.
Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
There's nothing like the aroma of your favorite entree cooking outside on a grill. And there's nothing like the thermal efficiency of a Big Green Egg to slow cook, sear, bake, or smoke that favorite entree. Frank Blair from Schnarr's Hardware here to tell you we have a Big Green Egg to fit your needs. There are 7 sizes of Big Green Eggs, so we're sure to have one that's right for you. We stock every size, from the double extra large to cook for a crowd,
That thing is huge and heavy.
all the way down to the Green Egg Mini,
It's so cute.
perfect for picnics or tailgating. Don't forget to accessorize. We also stock accessories and sauces and rubs to complement any meal. So come to Schnarr's Hardware and let us help you get grilling with a Big Green Egg. Or go to schnarrs.com to see what's in stock, find our locations and hours, or to shop online. Grilling's easy when you start at Schnarr's.
My dad has a cold, but also has high blood pressure. That's why I got him Vicks NyQuil High Blood Pressure for fast, powerful nighttime relief. Unlike some ordinary cold medicines, it's specially formulated for people like my dad. NyQuil High Blood Pressure is sugar-free, alcohol-free, and decongestant-free.
Vicks NyQuil High Blood Pressure. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, fever, sore throat, cold, and flu for people with high blood pressure.
Like my dad.
Medicine. Use as directed.
Shop limited time deals at the Truckload event at Lowe's, happening now. Save big on your favorites across the store. During this event, get up to 50% off select tools and accessories. Plus, find the perfect floor tile for your home for less. Get up to 50% off select styles while you can. Head to your local Lowe's store or visit Lowe's.com to shop the Truckload event today. Valid 12/29 through 1/25 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. See Lowe's.com for details. Discount taken at time of purchase.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Woohoo! 1028 here in hour number 2 on the Big 550 KTRS. This is Straight Talk on Retirement. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach.
I'm Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach.
And I'm Robert Markham, your life insurance and fixed annuity specialist.
And we're willing and we're waiting and we're wanting to answer your questions at 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. Babe, what I was hoping to do was, with your permission, of course, is to talk about a coaching session that I recently had with Rob, with Joan.
Rob and Joan. I'll allow it.
Yeah. Okay. Joan's one of our clients. She's 74 years old, and she's a widow. She's got about $2 million in assets. 25% of that amount, about $500,000, is in her trust account, and about 75% of that is in IRA assets that she and her husband had accumulated. And of course, at 74, she's taking required minimum distributions. At our suggestion, she had her legal documents updated because she has 3 children, 2 of which are married and have children, but one of them also has a child that requires what she felt it required was a special needs trust, which is to have assets there available for them over a long period of time. So during our session, I asked her, if you died tonight, each of your 3 children would inherit an IRA of about $500,000. There are a few choices. They have a few choices in how they can take these assets from these IRAs rather than paying a lump sum, taking it as a lump sum and paying a whole bunch of taxes. But all the options that you have involve them paying taxes, as the taxes could reduce the value of their inheritance by as much as 35%. Is this a concern to you? Interesting question. And, this is an emotional thing. Did Joan want these assets to be passed on reasonably intact to her children, or it was like, hey, it's cool. You know what? They're getting a boatload of money anyways. What the heck? We find our clients fall in both of these camps. But Joan said yes. She really did want to deal with the tax situation on these IRA distributions. So we did have a discussion together. If your children were to liquidate these inherited IRAs immediately, they would probably owe about $175,000 in taxes each, because that $500,000 they would be inheriting would be lopped on top of their current income, which is going to put them very easily in a 35 effective income tax bracket. We've estimated for you that your grandchild would require about $250,000 in capital to be placed in a special needs trust to provide an income stream after your death, which we certainly could either take from the trust assets, or what we could do is change the beneficiary designation for a portion of that on the assets of the IRA, so that the IRA asset would then, they would have an inherited IRA. But Rob's sitting there, he's thinking.
Always.
I can see the wheels are turning. It's good to know he's not a deadhead, right? He's always thinking. I mean, he said he's always thinking. Well, of course he is. Okay, so the wheels are turning, and we have a solution for her, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. And it comes from a well-respected, financially strong institution. If Joan agrees to move $20,000 of her savings from her trust to their bank each year, they will put aside $175,000 in escrow for each of your children, total of $525,000. The funds will be kept on deposit. At the time of your death, they will hand your children $175,000 each in exchange for the amount you have on deposit with them. You and your children will never have to repay the difference between what you've deposited and the $525,000 they have paid. Joan, is this a decent solution? And
well, it's interesting because, as you can tell, what we're talking about is that this institution is saying, give me about 3 to 4% of what the amount that you want, that amount, that escrow amount. We're going to set that aside, about $20,000 a year, and obviously create a $575,000 benefit. But Joan had a very curious question that she asked, right?
she did. And she said, if my lawyer wants to know, what do we call this? Life insurance.
That's what it is, which is buying dollars at a discount. In Joan's particular case, which we didn't mention, she already had a contract of about $150,000, which she had maintained over her period of time.
She's already a third of the way there.
Absolutely.
That's right. So what we did was we looked at saying, let's piggyback on top of this contract that you have that's existing, which, by the way, we also were able to show her. I thought Rob did a great job showing her that her annual dividend, which had been applied to buy additional insurance, actually could be then used, and she was still paying premiums. She could then take that dividend and instead apply it to the premium and no longer have premiums to support that policy, which was running about $2,000 a year.
How great is that?
She already has some. Not only does she have a portion of the life insurance that we projected she might need or want, but she already has a third of it, and now she's freed up additional capital to pay for the balance.
You know, let's put it this way. It's human nature. Nobody likes insurance companies. You just don't. We pay them. They're there. They're supposed to deliver
A
money.
necessary evil, right?
Well, they're looked at that way. But the truth is that a life insurance contract, especially described in this way, is really it's almost like a bank loan that you don't have to repay. You're paying interest on that loan to have access to that capital, to be there exactly at the time that you need it and exactly the amount that you want. And in a death, those beneficiaries, those kids, are going to be receiving that money income tax free.
Which I think was a really important piece we left off of the conversation, that this money's going to get to them without any taxes.
And when they receive that money, they'll then be able to, if they want, to take all that IRA money and basically have the cash to be able to pay Uncle Sam the taxes that are due, or have the luxury of taking it over a period of years, being able to have them meet their financial objectives with this money. And there's tons of things that they could do. You know, is it prudent to pull it out at one time and pay 35%? Really, it isn't, unless you have a specific need. But let's just use an example. Let's assume that one of these children had a mortgage of $300,000, and what they really wanted to do was say, hey, you know, this would be really cool if we could take this money from mom and help us pay off our mortgage. Therefore, we can obviously reduce the financial stress and strain on our lives because we don't have this payment anymore. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. But
yes, it does.
Do we have to do it right away? Would it maybe make more sense that since I have the money, maybe put it at interest, have it earning a little bit, and at the same time then maybe liquidate that debt over, let's say, a 2-year period or a 3-year period or a 5-year period, taking the money exactly as we need to do that, because we know that as with an inherited IRA, it has to be emptied in 10 years.
What wildlife is also joining us? We're all like looking at each other like curious as to what pterodactyl is out there or something.
It's the joy of nature, honey. I'm standing on my back porch.
In the beautiful California sun.
No, honey, that song "It Never Rains in California," they lied. Okay, we've had rain down here, and I have to tell you, it's supposed to rain for the next 16 hours straight.
16 hours.
Yes, and it's about 52 degrees, and it's cool. But I thought that the solution that Rob came up with for Joan was hot, which is taking some of those, dedicating some of that required minimum distribution money, instead of maybe making a direct gift to those kids, putting that money aside in escrow, in an account with a major financial institution, and then at death, let's just swap bank accounts. Makes a lot of sense, and that's really one of the powers of insurance. And as we've talked about before, like in Joan's situation, repurposing that death benefit for something valuable. Now, you know, Joan could come up and say, hey, you know, I've got this $150,000 death benefit, something Rob suggested. And you know what? Now you don't necessarily have to worry so much about your grandchild's special needs trust, because now we've got $150,000 that we can move income tax free into that trust, maybe supplement the rest of that capital with maybe a part of an inherited IRA. So lots of options here, but the truth is the way that you have these options is by having the money and making arrangements for it. So I thought that was a really fun coaching session that we had together.
Yes, it was. And like you said, the more money you have, the more options you have, the more options you give the loved ones. And with an income-free death benefit, tax-free, a death benefit, your loved ones will have many more options to, you know, maybe satisfy debts, maybe be a little bit more entrepreneurial, pay taxes, what have you. So it's money, options.
And
good is good.
It's another text question.
Yes. Texter says, I'm 54 and diagnosed with leukemia. Sorry to hear that. I have $600,000 plus in retirement plans. I have less than 5 years left. no family, no debt. How can I get the money for traveling, fun, etc., without getting hit on penalties and taxes?
And how old was? I'm sorry. How old was
54.
54.
Okay, so they're out. Unfortunately, they're outside the
55
the 55. They're not quite ready for the 55 rule. So I would certainly say that they obviously qualify, or they will qualify, for this terminal illness exemption that we have under the new IRA regulations. But again, that doesn't come into account until the end of 25, correct? So I think what our texter might consider doing here is, first of all, you have to roll your money into an IRA.
Well, I think couldn't we do a combination of things? First would be if you have money in your 401k, you might want to leave a portion of it there because it sounds like you'll be able to make it to 55 if you have about 5 years. So you could start with one option, which, Dad, I think you were getting to, which would be a 72T distribution.
Yes. Where you could pull approximately, and that the tables come out to be approximately 4%, almost like an RMD. So if you have 500,000, 4%, you could pull 20,000 a year. If your needs are greater than that, and you really want some more flexibility there, I would certainly consider doing what Aaron's saying, which is do a partial distribution from your plan.
It would be a rollover directly into an IRA.
Which would be a non-taxable event. Begin to draw money from that IRA, which you should be able to do because of terminal illness, and then also wait until at least you're at least 55, which would only be about a year, and then you can make chunk distributions from your 401k without, or they call them in-service distributions. You can make distributions, etc., from that plan, pay the taxes on it, but then also get around the 59.5 penalty.
Right. So unfortunately, there's not much to do about taxes because you'll have to pay them regardless of if you're able to set up a 72T distribution or if you wait and hold your money in your 401k and do those in-service distributions. They call that the 55 and older rule. I think that you definitely want to meet with someone to help game plan this out for you because you have a few more options than you might think, but they do require administration, and they also, are going to require a little planning because we might be able to make it more flexible for you within less than a year, depending upon how close you are to 55.
Yes, and certainly having someone there to assist you with the paperwork is going to be very critical. The way obviously you don't want to deal with talking to the Internal Revenue Service about these because what happens is these pre-59.5 distributions, if properly coded, will be reported that way.
Penalty-free, but not tax-free.
Exactly. So, and I would have to say that it wouldn't surprise me after the show that we might get a call from this texter. We've had several situations where folks, unfortunately, have been diagnosed with terminal illnesses. They're unfortunately in that phase, and they've come to us to say, "Hey, I'm the financial person so far, but my spouse isn't, and I really feel like she's going to need or he's going to need a guide." Someone to help them not only through the paperwork side of this, but also to assist them in managing assets, which frankly I've been doing for us for the time period.
And also for this and also for this texture, even though you mentioned you don't have immediate family, you don't want these assets, if you have any remaining when you pass away, to end up at the state. You might have some charities or some other individuals that you might want to have access to whatever funds remain after you pass away. So you definitely want to make sure that you're still meeting with someone to game plan that out, not only for you to enjoy your assets now because you have we have a little workaround to do since you're still under that 55 and 59.5, those two thresholds, but also so whatever remains, ends up with someone or something that you love.
Yeah, honey, I'd like to add just something on the charitable side. many of our clients are making having distributions being made for them at their death to various charities, which is great. What I'd like to urge these folks to do is to say, let these charities know that they're going to be the beneficiary of these distributions. Make some distributions if you can today. And guess what? Go and have fun. Get invited to the parties. You may not want to be a person that's being pulled up on stage for this massive donation that you're making at the time of their death, but maybe you are, and maybe that's okay, and that's something to remember.
Or you'll at least get to see some of those funds used during your lifetime for the things you want.
Absolutely. And the cool part is that if you're naming, if you decide to name any of these charities as beneficiaries in your will, because they're 501c, assuming that they're legitimate 501c3 charities, what happens is that they're not going to pay taxes on the distributions either, which is great.
You know what else is great?
Taking our second break of the second hour?
That's right. We'll be right back.
My dad has a cold, but also has high blood pressure. That's why I got him Vicks NyQuil High Blood Pressure for fast, powerful nighttime relief. Unlike some ordinary cold medicines, it's specially formulated for people like my dad. NyQuil High Blood Pressure is sugar-free, alcohol-free, and decongestant-free.
Vicks NyQuil High Blood Pressure. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, fever, sore throat, cold, and flu for people with high blood pressure.
Like my dad.
Medicine. Use as directed.
Morrison Plumbing, Electrical, Heating, and Air has the people your neighbors know by name, so we'll let them introduce us.
Even in terrible weather, Jacob showed up on time and worked with us to find a solution for our HVAC system. If I could give more than 5 stars, I would.
Morrison gives you exceptional service, no exceptions. Tune up your furnace this holiday season for just $59, our lowest price ever. Schedule now at morrisonplumbing.com. Offer expires December 31st. Some restrictions apply.
This is Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, we're back for the last 12 to 15 minutes of Straight Talk on Retirement for 2022.
Another year in the books, almost.
You know what that means? You got to call. Got to give us a call if you have a question. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. So while we're waiting for your texts over, I guess the next 10 minutes or so, we'll have to end the show. Next one will be in 2023. I think what I'd like to do is just share some thoughts on things that I've learned, not just this year, but over the last 20 years being a coach. And obviously, honey, you've been with me for 10 years now, and certainly in practice working with folks, and I know that you'll be able to add to this as well. You know, the first one is that, and I guess this is kind of obvious, but everyone's retirement is different, but it's also very special. Whether you're married, first marriage, maybe second marriage, whether you're single, widowed, or divorced. All these have different and unique planning opportunities in my mind, as well as challenges. And one size doesn't fit all, even in any of these categories. It's very specialized. But what I figured out is you have to be ready.
I think we talked about this at the very top of the first hour.
You've got to be ready financially. You need to be ready emotionally. And at the end of the day, I think that the folks that we have seen that are having the most meaningful, nourishing, fun, active retirement are those that will go into it with a dream.
You know, we spend so much time with people that are, worried about the financial side of things, or, saving and progressing towards getting to your retirement. And that's what, everyone that's not retired essentially is doing. And I think it's just really important to point out that you've spent your entire lifetime, your entire working career to get to this point. And a lot of people don't think about what comes next because they're too busy thinking about just getting there. And so once you have realized that you like to say, Dad, you've crossed that bridge and you are comfortable in knowing that you'll be able to have a financially secure retirement, or you feel comfortable that you have that opportunity, then it really does come down to what does that look like?
And, as planners, planning for retirement for our clients is fun. It isn't frightful. We concentrate on doing things right, making better decisions, doing the right thing, not on avoiding mistakes.
Right, because hindsight's always 2020, isn't it?
Exactly. We realize that you are where you are. Good, bad, indifferent. Our job is simple. Let's get you to where you want to go. And for most folks, what that is having a continuing income stream, one that's stable, one that they can count on, preserving and protecting their capital so they can do other things, but being able to really maintain the lifestyle that they have, right?
That's right. You want to be able to have the same lifestyle the day after you retire as the day before you retired. Less 40 hours of work.
Right, in many cases. Or even if it isn't 40 hours, maybe it's different work, less stressful work, whatever it might be. But the challenge that we have, not only as planners, but you face, is that there are a lot of interlocking decisions that have to be made. And let's give you just a couple of them.
Right, and I think you make a great point, Dad, which is so much of the material around retiring, so much of the conversation around retiring centers on making mistakes. Don't do this, don't do that. If you do this, some horrible outcome awaits you. I think looking at it from the other perspective, which is gathering as much information as possible, working with a professional to help sort that out and help you make the best decisions, really puts you in the opportunity not to make mistakes, but to make good decisions. And some of these decisions include, Social Security claiming strategies. This is one that's reversible within a year. If you decide to claim your Social Security and something arises in which you decide you'd like to pay it back, this one is reversible within 365 days of your election. You could pay that Social Security benefit back. But it's important to have a game plan in terms of and this definitely ties into being married, being into second marriage, being single, potentially being divorced or widowed. When do I elect my Social Security benefit? When does my spouse elect the Social Security benefit? When's the right time to do that? When do we do it at the same time or at different times?
Yeah, and the thing is that we appreciate and we're ready to tell you that planning for retirement is fluid. Having a game plan, a track to run on, if you would, puts you in a position where you can pay attention to what's going on in the race.
Right.
Driving on a road that has guardrails and not crashing into the guardrails or going on. I mean, that's what they're there for, is to keep you on track. And that's really what we like to do, and we like to think about accountability. Another big issue that we didn't talk about really in any detail this week, but as you know, we specialize in, which is helping our clients transition from company-sponsored healthcare to Medicare.
And that can look different for each person. Some individuals go directly from their retirement, from their employer-based coverage to Medicare. Others have a gap to fill. Do we fill that with your spouse's policy? Do we fill that with COBRA? Do we fill that with an individual policy? Do you have retiree benefits available to you that will bridge you until your Medicare eligibility? There are a lot of options out there. There are decisions to be made that have to happen in a timely basis. But again, these are all decisions that can be made relatively easily with enough information, and making sure that you're staying on the track, meaning you're not, missing deadlines and having your coverage not line up. Those are things that are easy to avoid if we have a plan in place.
So, we're looking at a game plan for income, which certainly includes Social Security claiming strategies. Also, you may need a game plan for pension election. If I have a lump sum available, does it make sense for me to take that or to take that monthly income stream? And really, it gets down to three other game plans that we like to do at the same time. We've got our income game plan, we've got our Social Security game plan, we have our healthcare game plan, income tax planning, obviously, planning for long-term care expenses, so somebody become chronically ill. And then finally, the estate plan, which is how do we pass our assets on to the people that we love, whether it's spouses or children, whether it's grandchildren, whether it's churches, whether it's shares, whoever it might be, with Uncle Sam or the tax courts taking a big bite of their money. I mean, that's really what it's about. So really having a game plan for retirement is truly having, in many cases, a total financial plan. And folks, I like to think of it, to me, it's a war game. We're with the Internal Revenue Service, not really at war with them, but making sure that we're using the handbook, the code, in the most effective way that we can. Also dealing with healthcare changes for our clients, which happen, marital changes, which happen. Some people get married, some get divorced, etc. Dealing with grandchildren, and really.
Also, it's dealing with health too. It's not just about when It's not just about when a spouse passes away or when you both finally pass away, passing those assets on. It can be, and we've noticed this happen, unfortunately, in several occasions with our clients, where one spouse becomes chronically ill. That dramatically changes our game plan, or it speeds up the game plan because you never can time when those things are going to happen. But it certainly not only does it change your income needs or your cash flow needs, it also changes your lifestyle, unfortunately.
And this is just fun. And I will tell you that, at least for me, some of the most fun moments and maybe the most significant planning moments I've had when clients have been walking around at Walmart. They're giving us a call.
Right.
Or somebody's in a timeshare presentation. Jeff, is this a good deal? Or I want to get Johnny out. I want to get Johnny out of the basement. I'm thinking about buying this house. Isn't this a great investment?
I think some of
helping folks work through these decisions is just fun. It isn't really. It's investing the money is how we get paid, but helping people make good decisions, I think, is the joyfulness of practice. So what I think. So I know that anyone can benefit from having a coach and having a game plan.
It's really great to see the game plan in action, even if we've made tweaks along the way, because we always do that. Things come up, things change, not just for the worse, but a lot of times for the better. And it's great to see, working with clients, planning these things out, and then as we put the pieces in place, we really are on the track that we planned on. The pieces really do fall into place the way that you had planned, and there's really nothing better than that. So, with our last 30
and I was also going to say that the last thing that we really didn't talk about, which I think is important, is accountability. Having a coach, having an advisor, having them accountable for their actions, and actually having someone keep you on track. It doesn't get any better than that, and it's easy to do, right?
In the spirit of keeping on track, we will see you next year.
The opinions
opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Be listening next week at 9 for more Straight Talk on Retirement with your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus, on the Big 550 KTRS.
From ABC News, I'm Dave Packer at the Vatican. Pope Francis at New Year's Eve Mass, his first appearance since the announcement of the death of Pope Emeritus Benedict, saying with emotion, we remember his person so noble, so kind. ABC's Enes de la Catera at the Vatican.
Former Pope Benedict XVI died at 9:34 a.m. local time. He was 95. He received his last rites on Wednesday, and he passed at his Vatican residence. He had been living here on Vatican grounds since 2013. Benedict had become increasingly frail in the last few years. He is, of course, remembered for being the first pope in 600 years to step